There are some 12 steps in between. We used to first send a mailers, okay, your particular pant is at a pattern cutting stage, now stitching stage, so on. All the 12 steps used to be covered, but majorly on mailer. That used to be prior. We reduced that, and now just there is a single link. You click on it, it'll tell you which stage the pant is right now, just before the delivery. So that's how we keep them, telling them, okay, it's on the way. And not get impatient ki okay, 10 to 12 days is a lot, because now everyone is used to getting a product in just 2 days. But you are getting into it because you have selected the fit you want. You have selected the measurements you want. You want a special type of hem. You want embroidery on your pants. You want your initials embroidered. So those kind of things will take time. And we just communicate them subtly that yes, this is where the pant is at and at which stage it is at, and don't get impatient, please. It'll be there within the set time.
It seems like you have a very good grip.
I'm wearing the pant.
And even I'm a fan of pant. Myself have 5 pants. Alright.
So I would just like to take a moment to introduce Ms. Kanika Anand, General Manager Airtel. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us today.
Pleasure meeting you, and welcome to the round table. Alright, so moving on to Nilesh. Nilesh, how are you engaging your audience now? You're buying because solar steel plays up.
Yeah. So in solar business, we have 3 sets of audience. One is the consumer who wants to install solar on their premises. Second is our B2B audience, which probably are like regular buyers. And the third audience is the middleman, which is the integrator, who actually comes and installs solar on the facility which the consumer wants. So why we keep promoting the brand to consumers, but then most of the consumers directly may not buy the product. Okay. That habit we are trying to inculcate right now, that please choose your own brand on solar. But most of them still are kind of relied on the mediator, and because the solar industry is just in the stage of evolution, and people are still contemplating and whether they should install or not install. In India, if you see, there are more than 35 crore houses are there. The government has just started this vision of solarizing the country, with last year Modi ji announcing the first 1 crore housing will get installed in 3 years' time. So that itself would be only 3 to 4% of the total houses in the country. So the overall evolution and the potential of this category is huge. But it will take almost a decade to complete the solarization process in the country. So as of now, it's a very nascent stage for consumers. We are learning about it. They are trying to implement it. Government is providing a lot of subsidies too. In fact, if anybody wants to install a solar on their rooftops, it's a matter of just 2-3 lakh rupees, and they can solarize their home. And that investment, out of that 3 lakhs, government itself, subsidizes by 78,000. So the cost of acquisition is very low. And within 3 years, you get your money is refunded because you don't get any electricity bill. And after 3 years, for next 27 years, the electricity is free. So that's a huge, but the awareness levels, government is pushing them that, then consumer awareness is getting created. In tier 2, tier 3, especially now, the adoption has become very fast. In last 15 years, there were only 3 lakh homes which were solarized. In last 1 year, 15 lakh homes got solarized. Wow. This year, the government is targeting at least 30 lakhs homes should be solarized. And next year, it would be close to 60 lakh homes. So that's the pace of growth. Every year, basically, it will just grow 2x. So within 6 to 7 years, we will see at least 2 to 3 crore homes will be get solarized. this industry as on today, even if 1 lakh crore houses get solarized, it's a 4 lakh crore industry. Only
Right.
residential. Okay. But then you move to commercial, where industries are there, commercial buildings are there, those are incremental opportunities. So right now we are targeting consumers through, we also don't have app as such because it's at a very nascent stage. But probably in 6 to 8 months time, we are planning to have our own app where consumers, so we already have a D2C website where consumers can come and buy. We are available on Amazon and Flipkart. The early adopters can, but then there is a challenge where normally people are not tuned to buy, heavy products or high merchandise value products on these platforms. But I think that Amazon itself has promised us they see this category as huge. And even if they are able to capture 5% of the category, it will be a 20,000 crore business for Amazon itself on solar. So the category is booming, consumers are getting educated. And I think that journey has just begun, I would say.
And I'm a little bit curious about the CAC. So how much is a CAC for you? Like how much do you spend to acquire one user?
If I see the ticket value from a ticket value point of view, our cost to conversion is just 0.5% to the
0.5%.
value of the product. And the overall percentage ratio is close to 3 to 4%. People who come to our D2C website, they get converted.
Alright. And how do you align your marketing campaigns with the government campaigns? Because
So most of our communication are currently, in fact, I don't know if you guys have seen, in March of 29th, we had a front page All India ad with Modi ji on the front, with Vari. And it was across all over country. So we are using all the government assets. Modi ji himself has given us approval that you can use my image to promote solar. And that's how we are going very heavy on our investments on brand building, as well as adoption of solar and educating consumers. The second biggest challenge with the industry is that there are not many integrators who know how to install solar. So what, as an organization, we have taken a task to basically educate these integrators to come on board. And there we have created an app, which is called Vari Prime Plus. That app is an integrated app where the integrators can actually learn. They can buy on the app and they can also redeem loyalty points on that. So it's a complete all-in-one solution, and there is a consistent engagement, communication for themselves, for their family members. There are scholarships which are available. So a lot of stuff happening on that. We already have close to 20,000 people active on that app right now in
Okay.
the last 1 year.
so that's a B2C app, right?
That's a integrator app.
Creator.
People who wants to install, people who are trained to install the solar.
Okay. Alright.
The distributor
vendors.
channel is very different. So these integrators buy from distributors. So distributor is a distribution network. But these integrators are, it's like an electrician or a painter for a paint shop, electrician for electrical goods, a carpenter for a Fevicol, like this. So this guy is an integrator for installation of solar. He is an upgraded version of an electrician.
Alright, so moving on to the new panelist, Kanika. So Kanika, how is the user acquisition works for Airtel? And which division do you head?
So I handle overall media for Airtel. But we look at all kinds of products. We have different products, mobility being the core services on telecom, largest service. Followed by, there are multiple other things that we do, which is the internet connectivity provided through fiber as well. And beyond that, there is payments bank, there is international roaming. So there are many products that we handle that overall as a business. Looking at, just to give you a perspective, if you're talking about app, etc., the way rollouts happen. The fact is that today we have one of the largest subscriber base at a scale of about 300 million plus users, right?
Yeah, I'm sure.
But on our app, still we have only about 100 million users. So the adoption is very, very low. And during the time of COVID, etc., when people stopped recharging outside, couldn't go, etc., because there were people who had to go out and were used to going out and recharging through, outlets, etc., and franchisee stores because they were used to it. So we thought that it was the right time that people will start adopting the app, and those who are not there will start doing all of that. However, I think because of UPI apps getting penetrated very deeply, now it's become very convenient for users not to have this app, because as a standalone app, I have nothing more to offer beyond, your regular recharges. There are some, since we also have Airtel Finance as an entity, there are MDs, there are other kinds of programs, there are insurance products, all of those things as well. But people don't see value in it. So therefore, what we, beyond a point, we stop communicating to the users, because we know those who seek value. We also need to kind of revamp our app, because user behavior is also kind of changed.
Absolutely.
So that's the reason that now we're not pushing through so much on adoption for the app right now, because people have ways and means to do it through other recharge partners, which are, all the UPI partners. So it's easier, it's convenient, it's habit. Like, if I'm habituated to do it through Paytm or a PhonePe or GPay, then I'll do it there. I don't need this app. So therefore we stop. But another problem that we face is that, with app, now users are looking for more things. Our app is kind of very fuddy-duddy. It's like been there, done that, and we haven't revamped it. So therefore we are first looking at revamping the whole thing, even the UI UX of it, because in our internal things we see that we are communicating multiple things different time, etc. So there are lots of gaps there. So therefore we are looking at that as one of the objectives to go forward.
And while doing the re-engagement of the users, like, what's your thought process? Like, while
we did internal researches, and since we have a huge employee base as well, so we do a lot of internal researches to figure out what should be the revamp like, because we are now comparable to any other app. And since we have a huge base, we think that users need more value in it, just beyond our regular recharges. What is it that we bring to the table? Is it content? Because we also have Xstream as an entity. Should we integrate that here? So is it content? Is it something else? Should it become more AI-led? That it should understand itself, help me give prompts. Should it solve my billing issues? So lots of things which are more interactive. Currently, it doesn't have that kind of interactivity. There are features we've built in, which we do, but they are not of that scale or value to your user. So therefore, there's a lot of work which is happening in order to revamp the whole thing, so that then we are able to attract more people to the app.
Oh, like, I think Airtel is having much more user base. And how do you utilize the CDP data?
So,
one of the, this is what, like, I'm very curious about.
So, we actually, first of all, since we have many other products which are not as scaled products, or we don't have a large base on our other businesses. So we try and cross-pollinate first all of that. So we see that if person is on mobility service, then we try and upsell or cross-sell a fiber thing, or a payments bank product, or an FD product. So that's how we are currently utilizing our data. Then also we have DTH as a business. Then we know that, at least 50% of our audiences are consumers of at least 2 products. So there are whole CFTs running internally on how we can cross-sell and upsell to users. So I'll just give you an example of where the stage of internet is right now in our country. While we all have mobile internet, but fiber business is still very nascent. There are only 20 to 30 million households which have internet at home, which is fiber and, the Wi-Fi at home.
Yeah.
So that is a category which will grow in, the next 5 years. And there's going to be a huge growth surge that we will see there. So that is one business that we are now layering and understanding. If they already have a DTH and then they already have a mobility service, then we try and cross-sell them a fiber product or a Wi-Fi product as well. Because one, they are consuming DTH, so which means they need entertainment as one piece.
Yeah.
And definitely if there are mobile consumers, then they would want to bundle the offer, and then we have different offers laid out for them. So that's how we are cross-selling, using this data to cross-sell to our users which are not on our 3rd or the 4th service. So that's how we are utilizing the data.
All right. Thanks a lot for a lot of insights about the data. So moving on to Pritish. Pritish, like you, as you just mentioned that you have moved your users from, you haven't pushed your users from the website to the app. So what all are the challenges have you faced while acquiring the user? Because website attribution, the website acquisition is completely different, and the app acquisition is completely different. How do you know?
So website is quite easy. You can put UTM parameters, you can see session, referral data, everything on Shopify dashboard itself. You can use Google GA4 also. With app, you don't have UTM parameters, then you have to use some deep links and everything. That is when the MMP comes in play, and you have to find ways, like your installs are happening, your purchases are happening on app, but you don't know from where it is coming, right? So that is when the MMP player comes into picture, and when you understand what is the last purchase source channel, right? That is not enough, because sometimes it is possible that 7 days ago a person installed the app from some other source, and currently he got some WhatsApp or something and he opened the app and purchased it, right? So the attribution will be given to WhatsApp. So the first source of install and the last click of install, both are equally important, and to understand that kind of a data to make next decisions easier, that is, I think, very important.
And how do you because of the view-through attribution, like most of the MPs have the view-through attribution. So how's the view-through rate of your app?
View-through I will have to check, but we currently work on click-through.
Is there any scan, are you guys also working with iOS, like acquiring the users from Apple?
Yeah, we have iOS app as well.
And how are you solving the problem of scan?
As I mentioned, that we are not mostly focusing on or forcing customers to install the app. It is very easy for us, running the ads on Google, putting our install deep links on multiple touch points, when someone is placing his order, after order placement, whatever the WhatsApp is going, just adding one message there, install our app to track your order, right? So people are buying from app, whether it is Android app or iOS app. We are not concerned about scaling the app as of now, because we think scaling will be difficult, because we are a web first brand, and if someone is coming for an individual product, then it is very difficult to get that customer to install the app first and then buy that product, right? So those who are coming willingly, we are allowing them to install the app and showing our app on multiple touch points.
And how many men how many men are on the app?
How many?
If I segregate the data of the women and the men, they're using the app.
It's roughly 60% women, 40% men.
Okay. Alright, so in what kind of user activity do you track of the men's purchasing the beauty product?
Yeah, so
which is the best product for the men,
we have a hair growth serum, we have some vitamin C serums, etc. There is anti-dandruff shampoo, which is 80% main kind of a product. Currently we are focusing on personalization on web, and we are also trying to get that on app as well, because website is kind of easy for us, because we are always working on that part. App is a secondary part, which is always ongoing, but whatever we are building and having a proof of concept on website, we are then pushing it to app. So currently we are working on personalization on website. If you visit our website from different product pages, so let's say if you enter the website from hair growth serum, you will see the banner which is related to hair care category on homepage. If you enter the website from, let's say, vitamin C serum, you will see a banner of skincare on homepage. So that kind of personalization is there.
Lots of upselling.
Yeah. And also we have some gender data which is coming from Meta campaigns and everything. So if some male person is coming from Meta campaign, he will see personalized banners for him. So there are some level of personalization to the extent of male, female, or product categories and everything. But on most of the days, sometimes it is 50% of data is still that where we don't know what is the gender of the customer, right? So we have to keep the basics gender neutral. We have to keep the basics for everyone, and then wherever possible, we are doing personalization.
Probably like I can give you the more visibility of the data because we are in MMP and we are working with we are planning to build a CDP as well, which we can integrate with the MMP and the CDP so that we can have much more visibility of your user activities.
Yeah.
All right. And like as the I have moderated many of the conferences and many of the panels. So AI is one of the hot topics there. So what AI are you implementing in your marketing activities?
Yeah, so AI is everywhere, and I guess that is something that our entire team and entire company is driving different measures to make sure that AI is adopted in the team. I think AI is like one of the best helper that you have, but you have to use your brain, you have to use your logic skills and everything, and you can do literally everything. So there are a lot of projects that we are internally conducting with the help of AI. You need to create workflows to make sure your work is like in structure. So for example, it is not just one thing that AI will solve कि आपने prompt दे दिया and पूरा का पूरा ad चल गया. Right? You will have to do it in a step manner, that you are getting content from somewhere, you are creating assets from somewhere, then your next steps are also covered in that way. So you have to create workflow so that entire thing can be automated, and there is still a human need there, but I think AI is
It's a machine like which humans can drive.
yeah, AI is taking over.
Alright. So moving on to Shivam. Shivam, like what all are the AI agents that you have created in PAN project? Because I can see your logo, like it's a little bit engineered. Where you have put a lot of
the PAN project. We have highlighted the PAN in the brackets just to ensure that we want to be the leaders in the PAN category.
yes.
That's why that's just the bracket. But yeah, in terms of AI agents, so definitely my social media team uses a lot of help. It's a good helper, as we said. Like it's a really good helper because you need to be informed about the prompts that you're putting. You can't just rely on AI with a one-liner prompt and just say ki make me an ad, make this image better. You can't do that. You need to be a good prompt engineer, learn about that. So what we keep sharing internally is whenever there is a good article, where there is a good video, we keep sharing it internally, so that because social media team is also like a lot of Gen Zs are there in the social media team. So I keep informing them, okay, read about it, how you can make your work better, how you can reduce your work time. A copywriter can actually reduce their work time if they are using it wisely. For product descriptions, for captions, for stories, ideas, storylines, storyboarding, those kind of things, they keep using it. Backend at the operations side, ops side, we are implementing workflows which identifies customers raising some issues, or if we are getting some kind of grievances. So how that should be addressed properly and fast. That is where the AI workflows are currently helping us. So assigning it to the right person, ensuring that even the first few prompts that the customer they get the right questions, and they can then go to the human agent essentially. So those kind of things are being implemented. And then the warehouse side, where you need few certain things to just improve your supply chain, your ops. If you're getting an order, which warehouse should it go from? If it's North India, it should assign to a particular warehouse, get your delivery faster. So lot of different verticals, not just from marketing side, right? AI is helping across different verticals. It's just how you use it and how informed are you for you to make necessary decisions to implement and make your life easier.
All right. And one more thing. So as you all know about the DPDP Act, like which India just had implemented. Does DPDP Act impacted your marketing activities? Not yet.
Not yet.
All right, because like you might not be storing the personal data.
We do. Yeah. That's it.
All right.
It hasn't impacted us.
Perfect. So moving on to Wadi. So, sir, like how does the DPDP thing is impacting your, because you guys are running some marketing campaign, like you are just retargeting the audience. So is there any?
No, right now there is no impact as such because most of the first-party data which we are using is secured and it's of at that scale right now we have not at that scale where the adoption of millions of consumers are coming. So that act has still not impacted us the way he said. But going forward, I think the way things are.
But I think like you guys are also in UK and US and Australia.
So we are taking care there in terms of all the security and privacy information. Then to follow the law of the land.
Yeah.
So wherever we are present and whatever protocols and privacy documentation we should need. So if you go to our US portal, it is very differently made than the Indian.
And how are you framing your marketing activities with the AI?
So right now in US we are not, while we have framed the documentation part, but we are still not reaching the consumers. It's by and large B2B in the US. In India we have started reaching out to consumers. So that act is still yet to
launch it. So how's the AI impacting, is it catalyzing your marketing?
Huge adoption of AI in our organization, starting from factory to ops to finance to legal to marketing to sales. And we are using in sales for hyper-localization, getting more customer base and franchisee base, increase the franchisee base. We are using AI to, basically use the cohort which are into a particular segment of business. In our day-to-day marketing, from content creation to image creation to VO, I think most of the things we have started using AI. In fact, I'm wondering what are the ad agencies will do in future. I'm sure people would have read Samardhan.
It will shift it to the making the AI agents and the AI managers.
But I think going forward, a brand or a marketeer with AI experience and without AI experience, those people without AI experience will not exist anymore.
Yes, I agree.
And
it's now and never situation.
Yeah. People will have to adapt to the changing world. And the senior marketeers also need to get into people who are not used to or used to a traditional media. They need to switch over, otherwise there will be a challenge for them as well. So at our organization, every week there is a AI training program. We keep weekends at least 2 hours to learn something new. What's happening globally in the marketing world. Precisely this is the reason I'm here also. I don't want to miss any of the new things, new technologies that are evolving, and want to keep myself abreast of what's going in the world. At legal front also we are using a lot of AI to close. So the speed of work has actually gone 10x.
Yeah, I agree.
So the number of blogs which you could generate earlier, today we are able to generate the number of, and we have multiple businesses, not just solar. We are into EPC business, we are into green hydrogen, we are into battery energy storage business, we are into IPP business. A lot of content is being made, a lot of articles have been made, a lot of collaterals have been made, and just using it.
And how are you competing with the companies who are in China? Because I've been to Canton Fair, so it was really huge market there.
But China is like big daddy of this business.
Yeah.
The raw material comes from there. Whether we like it or not, but that's the hard truth. Global, we are dependent in most of the fields. If you see, we are dependent on China. Yeah. And specifically when it comes to semiconductors and the tech part of any industry, still with China.
Agree.
So, but I think with help of government, make in India, made in India. There's a lot of push happening. For example, a lot of work has happened in defense and we are now becoming Atmanirbhar. I think in these areas also, but still at the end of the day, I can, out of the complete value chain, I can go till the last mile, but the raw material still will be with China. So that will always, the challenge will always prevail. For example, the latest, whatever China and US. So the rare earth mineral which US or China has, US had to bend down and come to a table where they could slash the duties, because otherwise China will not agree to give those rare earth minerals to US.
Right.
And the US economy is dependent on it.
Yes.
So China, there is no escape.
All right. Yeah, I got it. All right. So moving on to Kanika. So because we are running short on the time. So Kanika, as you guys are also having an app, and which MMP do you use for the attributing all the users? All right. And how do you engage all these users?
We can talk about AI.
All right. Yeah. Let's talk about AI then. So what?
So, I think we started our AI journey much earlier when AI became even popular, because we started putting in a lot of effort how we could detect spams, which was very
yeah.
crucial to any customer today, and we were all getting fraud messages, calls, etc. Right? We were all getting spam. So I think we introduced this last year, while we launched the product last year. But we've had multiple phases of it. Like first we started detecting spams, which was led through full AI initiative, which was also, we backed up by, we get numbers which are escalated to us even from government parties, etc. So we are at the core of it. So we started using it for our product first, and then giving that benefit out to our consumers, and we are the first ones to do that. So we started doing detecting first your spam calls, and now we also detect your spam messages. So even if you get a message, whether it's on WhatsApp,
And the spam link as well. I just got the message that Airtel can detect it.
Can also be detected by us, and we will block it. You will not get, you will be protected from all kind of spam. So I think we are at the core of it from the product standpoint. While all our teams, like even everyone is saying that all our teams are now fully geared up to, having understanding how AI can work beautifully and, can solve our day-to-day problems, whether it's email creation, SMS, or any form of communication, not just in marketing, but lots of other functions as well. Now there are brands who are curating ads also through AI. There's one telco brand called Amisium, which has recently created an AI-led ad. So now the task to us is kind of create an AI ad which does not look like to be an imagery, which is like, it does not look human. So we need to keep the human touch in place, and therefore also creating content which is at a faster rollout. And it will also help us, I think, from, when we have so many diversified channels of content, then even currently it takes like months times to, curate content for specific platforms and then deploying a 360 campaign. So I think all of that gets shortened, and our creative teams, design team, etc., everyone is adopting it. In fact, it's like you was also saying, Nilesh was also saying, I have an ongoing AI training right now. So every Friday there is some AI training which is happening. So that is the kind of pace we are at it, and it's like a mandate. You have to do it. So different functions have different rollouts.
So like you have much more user data.
Yeah.
My last question is on DPDP, because we are working on DPDP, like being a DPDP compliant MMP. So how you guys are implementing DPDP in your company?
We also have a lot of other guidelines from TRAI in
I know.
Right? So we are a regulatory driven business. Even for our payments bank business, we are driven by RBI, which is a separate entity. So we have lots of regulation anyway. And I think the way we are taking it like a little slowly, we are partners, like we are rich in form of data, but we don't even allow all my agencies to use that data. We are very particular of not sharing our data externally, and therefore, we are very going slow there. But I think in long term, everyone has to adopt to it. So that's where it is. However, because of other guidelines also, we are keeping. We anyways have a lot of legal and regulatory driven, aspects to it anyways. So I think we are.
And as you guys are implementing AI in your organization, AI needs the information of the previous data. Then how you will, that might be a regulatory
Yeah, I think
privacy policies issues.
like in our business, there are a lot of legal challenges. So anything that we do differently, communicate, also goes through a lot of legal process. Like I can't say an X offer at X value in an X country and then, in an X region, and then say something else about it. We can't maneuver. So even any form of communication that we do to our consumers or even our employees, it is always vetted through legal. Without their consent, we're not allowed to say a word. So we are very, very stringent from that standpoint. So that's how the process, because we are driven by, by a government body anyway. So we have to be compliant from that standpoint.
All right. So on a good note, we can wrap up this roundtables. And thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
And thank you. And it was really good roundtable. This is my first roundtable and it was really good.